Hi, my name is Reed Silverne. The name of this show is Fed Pride. The reason it's called Fed Pride is because I'm a federal worker and proud of it. Everything I say is live to tape. For me, it's Friday, the 13th of June. For you, it's probably the Sunday the 15th or Tuesday the 17th, or it could be sometime in the future. You could be looking back into the past, into a time capsule of what's been going on so many days or weeks ago. Again, this is live to tape. If I fall off the chair or I make a terrible mistake, you'll see it. However, I'm not actually doing this as you're watching it. So it's not truly live to tape. And the name of the show is Fed Pride because I'm a federal worker, retired, and now a federal worker and retired and returned part-time. So I'm happy to be back doing stuff all week long, although it has, I have to admit, just kind of downgraded my ability to spend all week thinking about the news, watching the news, and doing all this other stuff. And working 5 days in order to come up with a show. So now it's back to working for a few hours and then doing a show. Now, as you know, I have a virtual co-host. Her name is Annie Mae, and she is my media advisor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a call through to her and see if I can pick her up digitally. Hi.
Hi, Reed.
How you doing?
Annie Mae here.
Good to see you.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Well, I want to talk to you about HD. I heard that you are making the transition to HD TV.
Well, maybe.
Well, is that true?
Not really.
So you are on an HD TV station.
Well, not yet.
That is interesting.
Oh.
Well, you know that a lot of people on TV are very worried about HD.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Every possible physical flaw.
Ooh.
And that was the real reason that I wanted to talk to you about your head.
My head?
But
okay.
It appears that you just want to leave your head the way it is.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
Thanks.
I'm sure there are people out there who have freckles, and pimples, and bald heads, and other things that are going to do just fine in HD.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps comedians.
Oh.
But we need to take a look at your image.
Yeah.
And to see if it's ready for prime time, which I've already told you it's not.
Oh.
And for HD TV. Well, let's see. Now, HD is a completely different medium from regular TV. Regular TV is a cold medium.
Yeah.
It means that cool people unaffected by anything. JFK do well. HD is a hot medium, kind of like film, bigger than life, more exacting, harder to do.
Oh.
But I guess we'll have to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
It also is an aggressive medium.
Yeah.
Aggressive people seem to do well.
Yeah, that's right.
On hot mediums.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we call McLuhanism.
Right.
The media types know all about it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And I guess we can talk more some other time.
Some other time.
All right. Let's do lunch.
All right.
I know that you're averse to change.
Yeah, I guess so.
Think about it.
I will.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
Goodbye.
Bye. Okay. All right. That was Annie Mae's input into the whole thing. Please forgive me. I'm adjusting my sound over here. It's all part of the live to tapeness of it. She's right about hot media and cold media. There's a guy named McLuhan, who's one of the great investigators, or I guess scientists of media. and he determined that radio and very, very high resolution film were hot media, and that the cold media were things like, well, they really didn't have cold media in those days, but they developed it later, and television especially is a cold media, especially low definition television. And the reason is because in order to actually appreciate what you're watching on TV, you don't know you're doing that, but you are, is your mind is putting this picture together. Television is just a bunch of lines going out and having some information and pixels going on in each one of those lines. It's actually your mind that puts it together and sees a picture. That picture isn't even there. So a lot of this stuff is going on behind the scenes, behind those eyes, the people that are watching television. And consequently, this guy who was doing this kind of very, very intensive scientific investigations, and he was doing experiments with people, so on and so forth. And he realized that cold media, basically, people who are cool, who are low key, who aren't excitable, do better in cold media. And I don't know if anybody remembers, Johnny Carson was really probably the first cold media kind of guy who came out there, and he was just, doing his little golf swing and stuff like that. Very, very laid back. Nothing bothered him, or at least appeared to bother him, although I heard that he was a little bit excitable behind the scenes. And the really hot media kind of people, the game show host, buy it, buy it, buy it, those kind of folks didn't do as well. Now, radio was the opposite. Radio was a higher definition medium, and that's where you get the Rush Limbaughs and the guys who scream and yell, and the savages, and who like to pound the table and like to pick apart people and really get excited, are more successful, I guess you might say, on hot media. And of course, there were those movie stars back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, all larger than life, John Wayne, Clark Gable, and so on and so forth. Very intense personalities, Jimmy Cagney, things like that. And they, of course, did very, very well, as well as very beautiful women. So there was a difference between the hot media and the cold media. And now if we go to HDTV, we're going to have a problem with a switch in what is really popular. Because the HDTV is basically like film. Very, very hot medium. Every single blemish and every single thing in somebody's face, people can see. The imperfections of life. So you have a lot of these actresses getting just Botox to death in preparation for HDTV. They interviewed Anderson Cooper, who's on MSNBC, and he said that he has to shave 4 or 5 times a day every time he's on HDTV. Now, just for your edification and for Annie Mae, I'm not going to be on HDTV. Basically, there's a confusion between HDTV and digital TV. Basically, what is done over here, these cameras over here are analog. They go on to digital tape, and they get output digitally to the cable company, because the cable companies eventually is already going digital. So, but it's basically an analog signal going digital, and it's not necessarily an HD TV. Although I understand there are plans in the future, and I'm not going to announce, I don't know all the details, for Access Tucson to do some HD TV, but not for this kind of format over here, at least not in the short run. Might be on some other, not necessarily over the station venues, but on some other venues. So I don't know the details about that. I don't want to trump anybody or say something wrong. But right now, you're probably seeing us on digital, but you're not seeing us on high definition. So I really don't have to worry that much. And I guess next time I talk to Annie Mae, I'll explain this to her about, I have flaws and I have shiny foreheads and little dents in my forehead and all this stuff. But it's not going to be on HD TV. I'm not going to be in super high definition, at least not for the near future, which is fine. Now, the other thing about it, so people are going to probably say, gee, I thought that if we go to digital television, that everything's going to be in HD TV. Everything's going to be high definition. Everything on cable, everything on satellite, everything over the air is all going to be on high definition. Well, it ends up that that's not what digital TV was all about. That's not what this transition is all about. Right now, you'll probably see more and more ads about it. I'm probably presaging a little bit, but if you go out and buy a TV and you buy the wrong TV, come February 17th, 2009, that TV is not going to be able to take signals off the air unless you buy a analog to digital converter box. Now, those converter boxes don't do any good for people on cable. However, if you have a TV that will take digital, basically, at least the cable company that I have, which is Comcast, I don't know enough about how Cox is handling it. They have what they call this head-down system, where they're carrying both analog and digital, and I've been noticing that I myself have a bunch of digital channels on my cable box, some of which at least appear to be high definition. So I'm getting more colors than I see in real life. So that's basically what's happening over there. However, the real reason they went to digital TV is because the spectrum that over the air analog television took up was more than the government really wanted it to. Once you go digital, you can get 6 to 10 stations multicast on the same channel at the same time. So what they're doing is by forcing all the over-the-air TV stations to go digital, they're freeing up a lot of the electromagnetic spectrum, which wouldn't have been there otherwise. So what does that mean? That means they're going to take a whole set of UHF channels, channel 52 to 69, and they're going to just give those to fire departments, police departments, law enforcement, so on and so forth. They're just going to reserve it just for that. So that's one of the things they're going to do. They're also freeing up a lot of the spectrum so that they could sell it. And anybody who was paying attention a couple months ago, there was this big thing where Google was going to buy spectrum that they thought that Google was going to use to put together, I guess, some kind of PDA, BlackBerry podcasting kind of thing. Well, it ended up, and I think that's called G3, but I'm not absolutely sure about that. However, that ended up being false. What Google did is if the auction brought in more than a certain amount, I think it was $16 billion, then they had to allow anything that was sold to be available on every platform. So that way Verizon couldn't just offer the Apple phone, or AT&T just couldn't offer the Apple phone and then have only that format be available on that amount of spectrum. All the formats had to be available, and that was good for Google because if one of the formats signed up with Microsoft instead of with Google, Google could still force its way on and get its content over there. So that's basically what that was all about. But basically, everybody who has an old style TV is being forced to spend money buying digital televisions, changing formats, and let me just say that people can get, if they have the old style TV, they can get $40 coupons from the federal government in order to get a converter box. That converter box does not work for cable or satellite or anything else, only works for over-the-air TV, so that their analog TV can take the digital signal. Otherwise, it won't. And they did this because Congress came in and said, you are benefiting all these businesses selling this spectrum, making $19 billion for the government. And poor people with old TVs are going to have to shell out money for new TVs. Not fair. You're going to have to do something for it. So there's supposed to be this big, massive campaign with billboards and all this other stuff saying, go get, if you have an old TV, go get a analog to digital converter. I personally haven't seen a single ad on that. Maybe other people have. There's supposed to be a big advertising campaign for that, and I'll believe it when I see it. But there has been a lot of publicity about it, and most of that publicity has been negative. However, people are going out, they're buying TVs left and right, and there's a lot of fraud warnings out there because some unscrupulous retailers are selling analog TVs with a little thing that says this will work for digital. Well, it won't work for digital unless you get the converter box. I guess technically in the grand scheme of things, it's not a complete lie. It's an omission, not a lie, because it will work if you buy the converter box. But a lot of people have been conned into buying cheap, old analog TVs that these companies are dropping and getting out of their inventory and not knowing that they just are not going to work. There's going to be a day on February 17th, 2009, and I think something else happens on March 1st, 2009, and all of a sudden their TVs aren't going to work. So that's basically it. They needed to get this coupon and then use it and buy this converter box, and then they only get the over-the-air digital TV. Now, there's also another controversy on that, and that is a lot of these low-power analog TV stations basically are not going to have an audience at all. Even though some of the TVs will be able to pick them up, unless they're being carried on cable as well, they're basically going to lose their whole audience. And a lot of this community TV, a lot of these little TV stations that are set up for Indian reservations and things like that, they're going to be out of luck unless they spend a lot of money converting their whole operation from analog to digital. So that is going to be a big problem for them. And I know that there's been hearings on C-SPAN and on in Congress about that issue too, and whether they're going to give these folks grants or just run them out of business. Basically say they're not part of the digital revolution. They're out. Goodbye. That's the way it is. So this whole thing has been a transition. However, most of us, because all the ads on TV are, isn't this wonderful, plasma, LCD, all these new format widescreen TVs, they're going to get great HD TV, and that's what you hear about on television. But the conversion is not to HD TV. A company, a cable company, specific over-the-air broadcaster can choose to go HD TV. It uses more of their spectrum, but they can choose to do that, or they can put out a whole bunch of just digital TV stations, multicast them out, and then they can make money putting on infomercials and something like that on these extra channels. Now, I know my particular cable company, and mine happens to be Comcast, they'll have channel 9810, channel 9811, channel 9812, so on and so forth, or channel 9 and then channel 9.1 HD. Basically, what those are is that's multicasting again. So they can get up to 6 to 10 TV stations off of the same analog signal that they had before. So this is a big asset for these over-the-air TV stations, which has basically been losing market share left and right. And most of the people who watch ABC, NBC, CBS, all the local stations, PBS, they're watching them on cable or satellite because they're required to pick them up. So the number of people that just have rabbit ears on their old TVs or just watching over the air has been going down and down and down and down and down. However, that spectrum that they own, they don't really own it, that they get from the government because it's considered really owned by the people of the United States, now has become much, much more valuable. They can either have an analog or a regular over the air and then an HD channel, or they can have a whole bunch of channels that they can push over and send by signal over to the cable companies, so the cable companies can run them too. And they can get a lot of extra revenue off of these. Now, I already noticed that, for instance, the local PBS channel, KUAT, there's now a KUAT, there's a KUAT HD, there's a PBS Spanish, PBS in Espanol. They're basically multicasting, I think, at least 3 different stations off of just the PBS over-the-air channel. And, of course, my cable company's picking it up. I don't know what Cox does or not. So that's basically what's going on. There's a whole revolution going on in broadcasting, and whether that revolution includes us, that's another question, because I know Access lost a couple stations to the cable companies a year or so ago. However, it seems to me that if every single station, regular station, has 6 to 10 multicasts going on, how many people want to watch how many different reruns of Happy Days or especially infomercials, constant infomercials. I don't know what the watchership on some of these infomercials are, but they couldn't be too great. So it seems to me that they should be just starving for content. Although I've noticed that the satellite companies should be, you'd think that in a real world, they got 140 stations or 200 stations. Instead of running something interesting, they'll run, all the XM style radio stations on high definition cables or satellite. But you'd think that they would be starting to look at public access throughout the country. There's a lot of programming out here. There's a lot of bizarre content. There's a lot of regular content too, and I consider myself more mainstream, although not mainstream enough for anime. And they don't seem to be interested. So I'm not sure exactly where that's going. I think the cable companies were lucky, the ones that preserved or were forced to preserve by local cities like here, access. They now have a little extra content. When you're clicking through all those stations, they find something new and something different, or something just so strange and bizarre, or some person's opinions that are so different from what they see on regular mainstream TV that maybe they might stop and do a listen. I know they did a study of Access, and they found out that some of the more watched Access shows, I didn't do mine, that's for sure, were getting about the same cable viewership in Tucson as Fox News Network and Fox Sports Channel and some of the lesser of the basic cable shows. So that just shows that people are desperate, and people, not that they're desperate, but they're looking for other content, and they're willing to check out something like this or something like Access, and it should be a treasured asset, although it doesn't seem to be lately. My name's Reed Silverne. The name of this show is Fed Pride. The reason it's called Fed Pride is because I'm a federal employee, proud of it. Recently went back, and you'll probably see me on Sunday or on Tuesday. Thank you very much.